This presentation is going to be on Heidegger Dulphine, a specific version of Heidegger. So I've been looking at a number of different versions of Heidegger in accordance with the problem of the interpretation or translation of Heidegger. The first remark that I think can be made generally here is that we can distinguish between something like the biological Heidegger, and that would be important, the difference between biographical and biological. And on the one side, those two on the one side, and on the other side, the title on top of the 100 or so, 105 or something like that text in the Gesamtausgabe. The Heidegger as a rubric over the text then requires the interpretation, and also even out of German translation, because of the simple words have a different in the recesses of is it the biological Heidegger, or is it let's start by give ourselves a reference here. So we're not talking about, we know of the yugas, of the phases of the moon, of light and shadow, of solar and lunar time. But we're talking here of Plato's seventh letter. So let's think of Plato's seventh letter, and let's think of the metaphor of some scientists wanted to prove that there were minute mineral deposits gathering that were dangerous to the miners in a mine, and they left something down, they left a stick down at that mine overnight, and it accrued a covering of sort of small crystalline and covering. So let's suppose in this, when we're talking about the seventh letter, we're talking about whatever it is that's not the biological. It's more like this crystalline and rich gemstones, which we could call Heidegger, and which each word they write has their dirt, and a little bit of dirt on a gemstone would make the light fall differently, so that what it excludes and includes will change. So that one through this gets a picture of why there's so many Heideggers, because we don't actually have that close amity or connection to Heidegger as the one who the fire left from cave to cave in the seventh letter metaphor. We could possibly get close to seeing what Heidegger saw, but then at the same time we have to see that in the things that are secured in our own Dasein, and which correspond also to the fact that just the fact that, so for instance, largely that the force of the MAGA movement comes partially from the fact that there's structures of secure meaning for them that don't go for anyone else in the world. And so, for instance, we have, and then in the more obvious form, you have it in today with the so-called, in Berkeley, it's called something like No Kings rallies. But in other parts, there are all the Republican or Trump mouthpieces are putting it as the something like the We Hate America marches, or something, the Antifa, or radical left terrorist groups. So I think that's I mean, that would just be one issue, like just an example, like that's one issue, but think of these crystalline forms are deep in the recesses of the lives of various ethnicities and ethnoi, and therefore we have a lot of problems. So, but this isn't so much about that, but it always is part of, I think, the consciousness of any Auseinandersetzung, or really facing up to Heidegger rather than pretending Heidegger is just somehow an eccentric and a philosopher, and after all, philosophy is not really that serious. So what difference does it make? And something that doesn't really cast it. But guess what? Actually, Heidegger does. His dirt is on a lot of the rich stones and crystals. So these chemical buildup, which correspond to the neuronal firings in the biological version, in the chemical biological version, then the struggle to secure meaning in the political environment is directly connected to that. So however you want to, I mean, these are different windows, as it were, in a multiplex. And there is no simplex version, no Einfach version. That's designed Frage in a certain way. So we have many versions of Heidegger, and I was going through some of them about the Lawrence Hemming version, more meek Christian version, a sort of a stronger, tougher Christian version in Sheehan. I mean, depending on how you look at it, you could see the meek one as being more powerful. You could see the strong one as being more impotent, as is constantly the version of the current universities to see anything that's externally, like Mel Gibson or something, as being actually, in its essence, impotent somehow. The saying that the Marquis de Sade is the pure impotence, this kind of idea. But so, nonetheless, we could distinguish this sort of meek version of piety from the kind of warrior version. It's intelligible one way or no matter how we start to storm in and evaluate it. But then I think more fine and serious versions in a certain way, because they're more alive, is the Agamben version, for instance. Agamben is a master, and he's studied with Heidegger directly, and when he does his version of Heidegger, which he never accepts Heidegger completely. He always has also Deleuze and Guattari, also other concerns. But he keeps the Heidegger window open, and then you see this Heidegger as the Kafkian Heidegger, which brings us into the problems of the, especially the problem of being in the metaphysics theta book, where, but Heidegger dealt with it other places, but where the problem of dunamis and energia, or the potential, the whole problem with the potential actual in the light of the Megarians, showing, sort of making clear even to the other inner unutterable recesses of the others. Somehow he's able to, the Megarians are able to cast their light in and break in. So just as like sometimes still, I don't know that it actually works at all. I don't have any particular feeling that it's actually worked. The Gavin Newsom intervention, maybe he just kind of thinks it works, and then some other Californians think it works and kind of like it, and then you have Jimmy Kimmel, who's probably presents a much stronger version, as sort of John Wayne version, who's sort of keeping up the ship by routinely mocking Trump in a way that's like, and Trumpians in a way that's sort of undeniable, as it were. But that's like they have 25 20 million subscribers or something like that. It's not but it's something. It's something in the media world that keeps the liberal things seeming like the Wild West or something. I think Jimmy Kimmel is like the John Wayne of the Californians now. And so for whatever that means, I mean, nobody thinks John Wayne was a brilliant theorist or anything, but he is what he is what he is. This Heidegger is not the Agamben Heidegger. It's not any of these other Heideggers, which are all, even the Zizek Heidegger. I think Zizek kind of sucks, but he's like, his Heidegger, I still would admit, is legitimate for his own use. It's just stupid, super transcendentalist, Dulphine Heidegger. But so there's a bunch of different versions. The one I will begin to thematize will be but we've done so much already kind of in this little intro, but this is like a teaser intro to it, I suppose. I'm calling by this qualified name Dulphine, and I'm just going to give like a little grok version of the etymological problems on the word Heidegger Dulphine, and qualified version of Heidegger, and according to the attempt to locate him in the theory of personality, which I've been developing sporadically as in all my thinking, but which now I'll try to give a specific form with connection to the Heidegger Dulphine. And this tag, we could say, it's not clear that it refers to the whole Heidegger, to the direct word Heidegger, where then only subsequently would we have sort of the exclusion and the inclusion that would give us either Heidegger as the rubric or the title over the works, or Heidegger as the biographical, or Heidegger as the biological, or Heidegger as the as part of a theory of physics or something, of emergence out of physics, or various other Heidegger as part of the yugas, the four-part Heidegger. I don't know. But okay, so I think that's enough just to prepare the theme. Do we need anything else here? Heidegger, specific version of Heidegger, according to the theory of personality, where the theory of the personalities, I suppose it's, well, yeah, let me say something about that. That's worth saying, because otherwise we'd have to do it in the next one, and it's better to have those caveat emptors here. So, yeah, in Jung, so personality, so I guess before Jung, there's, in traditional thinking, in Christian thinking, personality means basically the intelligence and the will of a being. And ultimately it's tied back to the Greek idea of persona, or the mask worn in the theater, and that we should remember that the theater took place under the holiest site in Athens, under the Acropolis, and that it was a big deal. You probably couldn't hear a pin drop when the theater was happening, and it was sort of more like that. I mean, there's no comparison, but if you've ever been in a courtroom, there is a certain din, there's an atmosphere, okay? It's not, actually in my experience, it's nothing like what it's shown in the movies. Usually you feel when you go in most American courtrooms, this sense of why I think it's actually even in Aristotle, why laughter is forbidden in certain circumstances. Because if you're being serious, you have to have a certain kind of somberness. You have to have a certain kind of decorum, right? Otherwise, this has ceased to be a courtroom. It becomes something else. So, yeah, person and persona links to that, but in the Catholic theory, it means basically the intellect and the will. And then, but closer to the way I'm using it is in the Jungian way, where he identifies types. So, which in a way, in the tradition, is more like ethopoiesis in the sense of presenting special moral exemplars, like in Timophanes and Timoleon, in Plutarch, something like that. We have in Jung rather personality as basically broken up between introversion, extroversion, and between these four types of the thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. But so I'm not dealing with that really. I'm aware of that, and I do think in those terms, but I'm not chiefly dealing with that. I'm dealing more. Basically, I'm dealing with the typology of the archaic Greeks. So I'm dealing with the Olympian gods and then I think so. So for example, sort of the axiom of the whole theory, and what would give it a direct example is if you look and you see the relationship between Zeus and Ares, I say is direct homology on Agamemnon and Achilles. And then the important thing is then you can look and then you see these types. So for instance, Tom Cruise is more of an Agamemnon type. Matthew McConaughey is more of an Achilles type. One's a little more clever, one's a little more direct, something like that. And then you see it repeated. You don't see necessarily the most smoothed, the most fined and refined, the most Kelon, the most sparkling version of it like you do in Homer. But you do often see it in ordinary drab, the war of ordinary life, which is worse than any war. You do see it here in the direct daily life, and then you have this you have this question, how can we get to the total, or rather than just the most noble or highest highway to it in the text of Iliad and Odyssey, or the other connected song culture stuff. How could you get the maximum closeness to this? Is it going and then looking at the biology behind people that sort of have these typologies, and why this situation recurs constantly causing this conflict between two types. But here I'm going to, so let me end this. Here I'm going to apply this not to just anyone, but to specifically Heidegger, and then try to treat Heidegger as one in the constellation of a pantheon, and then show who historically would be in the same type. Just as I'm saying, Tom Cruise and Matthew McConaughey, they're kind of in the same personality type otherwise, but then they have that difference between the one a little more clever, more Agamemnon type, the other a little more direct, more Achilles type. The same thing I want to do starting with Heidegger, and then show who beside Heidegger are the various other types.